Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. And my next guests are, a kid who I went to Union High, not together, but what are you, Nick, 31 years old? How old are you?
33.
33, okay, so you're 12 years younger than me, but also went to Union High. And he's done acting, writing, producing. He does a lot of stuff in show business, also teaches. And also I'm here with Weez, we'll call him, Mr. Wieczezak, my 7th grade teacher and football coach. And is it National Teacher Week? Is that what it is? What is it?
Teacher Appreciation Week.
Teacher Appreciation Week. So Nick called me up and said, hey, I've been wanting to have Weez on for a while to talk about those times, and what better week to do it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So
this is the first time I'm being appreciated.
I thought maybe I said let's appreciate. I said to Nick, good idea. Let's appreciate this guy.
Only took 45 years. So.
Are there a lot of? Do you stay in touch with a lot of students or no? Anybody you talk to?
You know, a lot of the football guys.
Lately,
they've been calling, and we've been going on little fishing trips. And, and doing different things like that.
And you enjoy that, right? I mean,
yeah, but I'm really a private person. Now that I've retired, a fishing pole, a shotgun, and leave me alone or I'll shoot you.
Yeah, you like hunting and fishing, just relaxing.
And my wife.
Now, how? Of course. Yeah. Your wife also, who was a teacher too.
Great teacher.
Yeah, and in the same junior high. So how long were you a teacher for officially?
Well, when I started...
Kiwami Junior High in Union, New Jersey.
I actually did my student teaching at Kiwami.
Okay.
There were no jobs in New Jersey at the time, and I put out 100 applications that year. I was willing to go anywhere in the state of New Jersey to teach, and as it turned out, not only did they need a history teacher, but the kid that was coaching football resigned and went back to Penn State.
So so here's the history. You went to Vietnam. You were a Vietnam vet.
Right.
And you got out and went to college after that.
I got lucky going to college. That's why I'm able to help you guys.
Right.
Because in high school I was like everybody else, and I really did get lucky because my whole life I always worked in the boys club from the time I was a kid.
Right. Where are you from?
I'm from the Passaic Clifton area.
Right. Okay. Clifton, New Jersey. Yeah.
And what happened was, I worked the games room, I was a lifeguard, I worked the camp, I was a cook, I did everything at that boys club. It became like a second home.
Yeah.
And high school wasn't all that great except for football and girls. You know, I mean, that's just the way it went. And history. I absolutely loved history. So anyway, to make a long story short, I went to service, went to Nam, came back, and I was teaching school my last year in the service on the things that I was doing in Nam.
Right.
To different soldiers that were about to go over. And I decided that, man, I like teaching. But there was absolutely no way I was going to get into college.
Right.
So I made a phone call to the director of Clifton Boys Club, and he had one in at Kane College. And he looked at and he said to me, he said, I'll get you in, but you have to stay there.
Right.
And that's what propelled me.
And that's how you found that you like teaching.
I always knew I liked working with kids.
Right.
Always, from the time I was a kid. But I really loved teaching, and that was it.
And well, I'll tell you how we reconnected because you know, so much stuff happened in my life. Obviously, after junior high and high school, and life happens to you. You know, stuff gets crazy, and mine might have been a little crazier than others. But you know, everyone knows. You know, I was on the Howard Stern show for about 8.5 years, and about 5 years ago, someone brought up teachers during the news with Robin, and we all were one of the women in the news department, Howard's news department, said, "Does anyone have a story about a teacher that really helped them in life, like one particular teacher?" And no one really did. And I said, you know, I do. I actually have a story of a guy, my 7th grade history teacher, who, you know, I would go to class and my vice was fooling around. I was a bad student in the sense that I was disruptive, you know, everything you might think I was, joking around and stuff, and would talk and be disruptive. And I said, this guy, instead of just throwing me out of class, figured out a way to go. He goes, okay, you want to talk? We're going to turn this into something productive. Every night I want you to go home and write out like a news report for the next day.
Yeah, you scripted the whole thing.
Right, you write a script.
you were like the director.
Right.
All right.
I enjoyed it. I found that I liked it. Yeah.
Because every day you picked 5 different kids. One had to do the weather, one had to do sports, international news, local news, and you just ran the whole show.
Yeah, and it was fun for me. I looked forward to doing homework, and I wrote the whole thing out. And you would let me do jokes, try to make it funny, and we'd walk in, and you'd give me the first 20 minutes of class and go, okay, do this, and then we'd comment on it. I mean, right? We called it 2040 News. Instead of 2020, it was 2040.
2040, that's right.
And so did that something like, how did that, describe how you thought to do that? Is this like a spontaneous thing, or you just said, well, like, was it because I annoyed you? Or?
No, you didn't annoy me, but,
Right.
but first of all, it was a good format because nobody stays informed. Well, in this day and age, everybody stays informed in some way.
Right.
But then a lot of kids didn't focus on the news. So
Right.
by making it a form of entertainment, and by you having this bubbly personality, the kids were all informed. Remember, we had one rule, though. No murders and local robberies.
Right,
we didn't
right.
want to hear what you hear for the first hour on the news.
Yeah. Light. Keep it light. Yeah.
And then we took each of the important issues, and at least it made it popular amongst everybody else.
I looked forward to it every night. And I said, that was a unique thing. I mean, the guy really ended up helping me for what I wanted to do later in life. And I would put a spiral notebook in front of me, stick a pen in between the spiral, so it came out like a microphone, like I'm sitting here, and this is how we did it. And it was a lot of fun. And I get a chance to publicly thank you for that. It really helped me in life. It did.
And I can publicly thank you. You gave me 20 minutes off your period every day.
Now, how do you think, so how is stuff, and it's why I want to get Nick into the conversation too, do you think something like that is possible nowadays with the way stuff is? I mean, stuff seems to be, is stuff more regimented, political correctness, blah, blah. Speak to the differences in teaching then and now a little bit.
We were allowed, once you were a professional at your craft, and,
Right.
and you had a good handle. First, you have to have a good handle on your subject matter.
Yeah.
And you have to be self-assured, and that I can't teach that,
Right.
And once you could do that, I think if you give that aura to the kids, and then you could pull it off. I think you could still do it today,
Right.
except there's so many different standardized tests.
Right.
And it's so much regimented into time. You know what amazes me? When I was growing up, the average lifespan was 65.
Right.
And you still got out of school at 20. And today the average lifespan is 85, and you still have to get out of school by the time you're 18.
Exactly.
Why can't we expand this a little bit? I mean, there's so much more knowledge to be learned.
Makes sense.
That I really think there's plenty of money out there to do all of these.
Sure.
School should be fun, too.
Yeah.
School could be opened all summer, too. Every school has a community college near it. Kids could work there. You have open gym, open arts, library, sciences, different things, place to have a bite to eat.
So education is real important to you. I mean, obviously, it's like a real thing where
If you look around, Artie, it's scary now. There's a mass of people out there that no longer have that factory to go to.
Right.
They no longer could be either the worker bees or the managers. And the jobs those in between people get are not really middle-class jobs as much as everybody's selling
Not
middle
anymore,
class.
yeah.
Not
It's
anymore.
brutal, man.
It's chump
brutal.
change.
Yeah. It's for the cost of living. I mean, especially around here, it's nuts.
It's like crazy. So I have a lot of empathy for people, and I really think that education has to be revamped.
They really got, and you got to be prepared to get out there in this world, because it's still as cruel a world as ever, man.
It's cruel.
Competition,
Crueler.
it's
It's
faster
quicker. It's
paced. It's faster, yeah.
Faster.
So, Nick, I mean, what do you think about that? Because you were a student back in the days where it wasn't fully changed, and now you are a teacher in this system. So, like the standardized test, I mean, explain all this. I mean, is it tougher now, you think, to be a teacher?
Well, like you, Weez is one of the reasons I became an actual teacher.
Right.
Because he didn't just teach history, he was personable, he was nurturer.
Right.
I mean, he obviously showed he cared.
Yeah.
And it seems like,
That's for sure, definitely, yeah.
And it seems like people are getting away from the nurturing aspect in teaching in union. My first objective is a kid has to know that somebody cares about him and they have to feel comfortable.
Right.
But with standardized tests, it's making it so you can't be that personal with the students,
Right.
which it takes away the whole aspect of education.
How often, when you say standardized tests, like how often do you have to take a test now? I mean,
What they're considering doing on a national level is focusing teachers' pay on test scores.
You see, that's rough. Yeah, that's
So they're telling us to
that's
teach
pressure
every
too. Yeah.
Well, which is why you're seeing teachers cheating in different states and all, because their salary depends, because they're telling us to teach every kid differently and care about them, but then they test them like they're all identically the same.
And so, that's so wrong, right?
Well, it's like having 1,000 comedians and saying everybody has to be funny.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you end up seeing other teachers teach to these standardized tests.
You have to.
Rather than
Have to.
To keep
giving
a job,
personal
and to
attention.
get paid. Well, I mean, you know.
Also to keep the kids moving along to the next level.
Is this
Right.
all a product of the No Child Left Behind?
Yes.
Well, it's part of it.
Yeah.
But it's also a product of the companies who are making a standardized test and states having to implement them, and it seems
And they're
like
making money.
And absolutely.
Right.